Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the studio and part 3 of our introduction or quick and easy boudoir poses that you can do to build your portfolio if you're just starting out. Tonight we have the awesome Shayna with us, and we're going to do something obviously totally different than what we did in section 1 and section 2. So tonight we're shooting on the backdrop, although you don't need a backdrop. If I didn't have one, I'd shoot it just on a plain wall or whatever. But we had the backdrop, so we're going to use it. And the way we're going to do it, in fact, I'm going to bring Shayna in just to show you how the lighting's going to work. I'm just going to stand you right about there. Maybe a foot forward. So, we have, if you can pan the camera, or one of the cameras can pick up this light. So it's off to the side, it's angled back towards Shayna. And as you can see, it's kind of in a kicker position. Look straight at the camera for a second. This one is the same from the opposite side. So we've got nice accent light coming in from the side. The only thing we have to do now is we have to fill her face with light so she doesn't go into shadow. And that's just one light that's up there. I don't know which camera can get it. Maybe camera 3? I'm not sure. All these cameras, very confusing for a guy like me. There we go. Camera 3, I don't think it can see that light. Why don't you, yeah, pan camera 1. There we go. So, that's all there is to it. Simple 3 lights. You know from my previous broadcasts how I love strip lights. Now in the past, in our last broadcast, we used them cross lighting. This isn't the same. This isn't the cross lighting that we did last week. This is kicker lighting coming from behind. So let's take some test shots and see how we're doing. I'm going to take an overall shot. Okay, so this kind of shows the overall position of the lights. Those are the 2 kickers, the backdrop, and I think we have a shadow that I don't like. Let's just check. Yeah, so I'm just going to adjust that main fill of that front light a little bit. So I'm bringing it out so it's more directly in front of Shayna, and that'll reduce any harsh contrast that we may have. Take another test. Okay, that's called the flash not going. Okay, so we do have some nice shadow. You look at the shadow under her chin, and it's not jet black. It's nice and full, and it's still adding dimension to her shape, as opposed to if the light was exactly in front of her, you wouldn't really get that. You'd get like the deer caught in the headlights look if we did that. So this lighting is simple, 3 lights. You can see the effect of the strip lights. If you look at her arms on both sides, they're just accenting not only her arms and shoulders, but her hair as well. So simple. I don't have any lights on the backdrop. Don't need to have lights on the backdrop because we're in so close. Remember, we're shooting in a fairly small studio here. So Shayna is only 5, maybe 6 feet maximum from the background. And this one light that's in front of her is totally adequate for, letting light spill on the background without overpowering it. So this is pretty good. So my intention here is to do some full-length shots. And I want to talk a little bit about, where am I on? Okay, let's try that camera. Can that camera see me? Okay. I want to talk a little bit about posing. Now, you know, I love to do up these sheets in advance for every shoot that I do. not just ditto cams. I don't just do this for our broadcasts. I do sheets like this for every shoot that I do. Yesterday, for instance, we had a plus-size boudoir customer. And I really wanted to make sure I nailed the posing. So I went back to a previous session on plus-size modeling and refreshed my brain about poses and how I was going to get her into these poses that are going to make her look good. She was quite large. Pretty girl, but quite large. And that, for a boudoir photographer, is always, I always think of it as probably the most challenging assignment that we get. So, nonetheless, I have these sheets. Now, it's not so much about telling the client to look at a pose and duplicate it, although we do that a little bit, I guess. It's more about just getting a flow. It's getting a flow going. And now, Sheena's a really good model, so she's not going to have problems with this, but believe me, you get clients who aren't used to being in front of the camera, and it can be a challenge for them. Now, if you don't like sheets, for those of you, I'm just going to do this real quick. If I can find my phone. Did any of you join us on Periscope tonight for the behind-the-scenes shoot? So I'm going to bring up some images on my phone. The camera's probably, maybe camera 1 can get this because it's close. Can you tilt it maybe a little bit? So for those of you who bought our Boudoir Posing and Idea Guide, it comes with smartphone JPEGs that you load up on your phone. Hopefully you can see them here. And if you're stuck for posing ideas, the customer doesn't even know you're doing this. You can just pretend you're taking a call and just scan across, refresh your memory on some poses. And remember, our Boudoir Posing and Idea Guide comes with about 130 or 140 sample images that you can use to... oh, there I am. So anyways, with that, Sheena's standing here and waiting. We're going to do some work. I'm going to try and compose for a full length. Now you may notice too, my camera position is roughly at her waist for a full length shot. This gives me a camera neutral position. It's not, if I were standing the same as she is, I'd actually have to tilt the camera down, which is going to give us some weird perspective. So full length shots, I'm in my nice and easy shooting chair, but this is the best way of kind of getting the perspective just right. Now within this, she's free to move around as long as she kind of has to stand on her spot a little bit, but she can just, you know, play and have some fun and do some modeling. And even if I catch, I'm going to do it on purpose, even if I caught a little bit of light or something in the shot like this, it's no big deal. It would be so easy to crop this in Photoshop. And I always, usually when I'm shooting, you know that full frame sensors or any, you know, standard camera today doesn't take an 8x10. It takes an 8x12. But most people order 8x10s, so you need some room to crop. So I always kind of overshoot it with the intention of cropping in once the customer's made up their mind about what they want. Nice. Now, you know, I'm also a fan of wind. So I have my Windman. It used to be called a Wingman. There we go. Yeah, it's low on the low setting because that, as you know, that fan's surprisingly powerful. So I like a little bit of, with a long dress like this, like a little bit of wind action, and even if the wind action is in her hair, that's just as good. We actually have 2 of these fans, and I don't know, can camera 3 pick up the fan? Or camera 2? Actually, Dave, can you show the fan to the camera with the red bulb? These are standard Stanley fans. They're nothing special, nothing bought from a photo supply house, or else it would cost you $1 million. These cost, I think it was $60, $50, something like that. And you notice the way that it directs the air through a snoot rather than the way a regular fan does, gives us amazing control. So we have 2 of these. So if I really wanted one fan to be blowing her dress and another fan to be blowing her hair, we could set that up. And have done so on many occasions. I just think in the studio, a little bit of wind action just really... So I'm going to come in now for more of a 3/4 length. Now, one of the questions you may have is, this is a boudoir session, why is she in a full dress? Well, you know what? It happens. Boudoir isn't always about underwear. It's not always about nude either. We could adjust the posing with a variety of garments. Imagine, not that Shana would have this problem, but imagine a lady was worried about stretch marks or something like that. Then any garment that covers her midriff, she's going to be comfortable wearing. But if she had to wear just a bra and underwear, she'd be really apprehensive about the shots. So we get them into clothes that they're comfortable wearing, and then we can make it sexy as we shoot. So same thing, we're in 3/4 length right now. I'm just going to let her do her thing. I'm using 1-point focus. I'm focusing with the center focus spot and then recomposing. I know cameras today have, multiple focus spots. I like the control of just knowing exactly, precisely where my focus is going to be. So I normally try and focus on the eyes, even in a shot like this, then recompose. And there will be those who argue that that isn't right, that the camera subtly, when you tilt it back into final composition, you're technically changing the plane of focus. They may be right, but it's insignificant. Now, I am going to stand up because I'm going to come in for some head and shoulder shots. This is playing into Shana's strong suit now. Okay, so one thing that I want to bring up, we do this with our clients all the time, is, on camera 2, where should the person be looking? What should their facial expression be for boudoir? Now, in a modeling session, they're used to making really good eye contact, and Shana's doing that, as she should. But in a boudoir, a lot of that is kind of the hidden observer. The camera's not really there. You're peeking in on somebody in a private moment. So it's unlikely that they would be looking straight at the camera. So you have to create a mood whereby it's as if it's the hidden observer. And she's alone and she's just thinking about something in her life and pondering it. And so the way I like to do this is I give them a specific point. So if you were to rotate kind of to this pole over here, your whole body, and then bring your head in the opposite direction, kind of glance down like that. So we get a totally different mood to the photo. When they're looking off camera. Now during daytime sessions, we use a lot of available light. We're at nighttime right now, so we can't do it. But I have them looking out the window, pulling the curtains, doing all sorts of things that aren't necessarily looking at the camera. And sometimes they've gone to a lot of expense. In our sessions, they have professional hair and makeup done. So, okay. They have professional hair and makeup done, and they've got eyelashes on, and their eyes look awesome even if they're closed. So, I think like that. Just point down like that, like you just did, because I'm actually just going to show your eyes. So, oh yeah, one more time. Like that. Beautiful. So they'll like that. They'll like the idea that their professional makeup job is showing in their eyelashes, and we have some specific poses that we do with that. So sometimes with wind, sometimes without. It's just, keep it changing. Keep it changing. So Dave, you can kill the fan for a second. Can you add the lens millimeter on your display? I don't think we can. It's a zoom lens. It is a 24 to 105. And obviously I'm zooming it in and out depending on whether it's a full length or, 24 to 105 f4. That's what I'm using in the studio right now. It's a general purpose lens. This is a small shooting space, so my 70 to 200 is a bit overkill for this space. This one is perfect 90% of the time. Okay, if we could go back to the question dialogue for a sec. And what is the Periscope presentation and how do you set up? It's over for now. Periscope is kind of a new service. We're just experimenting with it. It's live broadcasting from a smartphone. In my case, my iPhone, but it works on Android as well. And I just thought it would be kind of cool. We can't put our broadcast through Periscope, but we could put a behind-the-scenes show just moments before we go live on Periscope. So we did tonight. It was our first one. We had some viewers. It was cool. And I'm going to try and do this on every broadcast moving forward. So go to periscope.com, and if you want to hook up to our Periscope channel, it's just at PSH Live. So periscope.com, and then look for at PSH Live. Okay. With that, Dave, do you want to take a shot or two? And I'm just going to move over here. Now, Dave's going to shoot, and unfortunately, his camera is not tethered to our broadcast computer, so you're not going to see the preview images. And he's using a not a zoom lens. So you just have to position yourself wherever the composition is good. Okay, we're going for the pan. And Marianne's rounding the corner. Okay, now I want to do, before you change, Shana, I want to do one more with the fan on high. And I really want to see if we can get some wind action in the dress part.
On the dress?
On the dress. Yeah, like that. Try and get that train to fly out the back a little bit. And then Shane, yeah, you can spin like you're having fun, like the camera's not here. You're on the beach or something, and just, there we go. Okay, just wanted to play with that. I'm going to have Shayna go ahead and change to another outfit. And then this is a good time, if there are any questions, ask away while we go for a wardrobe change. Okay, questions on lenses, good questions. Am I using a 50 millimeter and larger millimeter? Okay, we won't be using that camera for a second. Oh. Okay, sorry we had to readjust the camera. So like I said, I'm using a 24 to 105, but I'm using it on a full frame 35 millimeter DSLR. So every shot is at a slightly different focal length. But you know the principle of wide versus telephoto. I try and shoot telephoto for good perspective, unless I specifically want the distortion that would come naturally with a wider lens, like a 24 or a 35. And there are times when that's an excellent choice. Just as rule of thumb, the longer the focal length for boudoir, the more I like it. Longer focal lengths also narrow your depth of field, which is usually desirable in this. What I'm asking about the lens is what are the lower limit of the lens so the client looks good? Well, can't answer that because it depends on whether you're talking a full length, 3/4 length, and portrait. It's in 35 millimeter. Traditionally, they say portraits should be shot at about 85 millimeters. And that's probably where I am in that range most of the time. But for full length, I'd probably be down around 50 millimeters, maybe 45 or something. Like I said, I don't want to go much larger than that because I'm going to start introducing wide angle distortion. What lens is the best lens to use for boudoir? Well, I do a lot in both studio lighting and in available light. And the thing about available light is there's not a lot of it unless you're outdoors. So we have a large set of patio doors in this room, and we get, if the sun's out, we get good light coming in, and if it's an overcast day, not so much. So I like a fast lens. To me, in that kind of photography, f2, f2.8 is a highly desirable lens. There are faster ones. Sigma has some prime lenses out right now. They call, give me a moment.
Art.
They're Art series lenses. And Art lenses, it's on my shopping list. It's definitely on my shopping list. And I've never used one yet, but the reports I'm hearing are extraordinary. The problem that I have with them, they don't make an 85 millimeter Art lens yet. Rumor has it that they have it in the works, but that's kind of the one I'm waiting for. Okay, Shayna's ready and back. What I'd like to do now, Dave, maybe you can help with this. We'll take this, and we're going to take this double. I'm just going to move your stuff over here, Shayna. That over there. Lengthwise. No, the other way. And then, yeah, slide it over a little bit. No, this way. Right about there. And then snug that one up so it's the third section. I'm going to start you, Shayna, kind of in a pose like this, where you're turning towards the drapes, just kneeling. I don't want to hit that tripod. I'm going to take a test shot for the lighting. Not bad, kind of like it. I've left some room for cropping, so if you're wondering why there's so much space under her knees and above her heads, remember, I might have to crop this to an 8 by 10. So the lighting hasn't changed. Everything is identical. The only thing is changed wardrobe. You can see the effects on her hair. So the kicker light is giving her a nice hair light. The opposite kicker light is also accenting her hair and shoulders and adding separation. Notice how the back of her garment is black. If that kicker light wasn't there, you'd see that black garment disappearing into the dark part of the backdrop. Usually not desirable. You need enough separation that it doesn't look like she's invisible in the middle. So the kicker lights are really bailing us out in that regard. And then again, oh, no flash. Maybe a few without looking at the camera. Just glance down at the floor as if you're contemplating life. There we go. Okay, now let's try an alternate pose. What if you were to sit on that third section facing Dave and then lie back? Actually, you may have to scrunch up a little bit. Sorry. Scrunch is a technical term. Yeah, okay, actually that's kind of nice. I like that with the hair draping. Okay. So just using 3 ottomans, which I bought at some sort of a discount store, we have a really nice posing accessory. And again, their kicker lights are working just fine. We have good separation. Let me just check the histogram. The histogram might be a touch low. It's not really all that bad. Histogram's pretty darn good, actually, so we're all good there. I'm also shooting, as you can tell, at f4, which is the maximum for this particular lens. And then try it with your front knee further down and your back knee further up. Yeah, just kind of reverse it like that. Now notice how that really slimmed down her forward thigh, the one facing the camera, because it wasn't at an acute angle. Not that, she was obviously in perfect condition, but most of your customers might be a little chunky in that area. So how you position the legs, pretty important for what we're doing here. And usually I find that if the back leg is the elevated leg, and the front leg is stretched out a little bit more, it just gives nicer lines. The only other thing about this shot that's on screen right now that I don't like is the way her elbow, I just did a shoot while her elbow was pointing at the camera. Obviously in a boudoir session I'd make sure that her face is fully shown and the arms down. So actually if you just put that hand on your thigh, actually no, that one back where it was, and that hand up like that, just on the top. No, not by the knee. Yeah, not on the side. Right like that. You see, top has all these different meanings. So, choice of pose, choice of wardrobe. If the customer feels good, then they're going to be happier with their pictures. So again, it's kind of, you have to use your imagination. What if she had a really plump face? The other thing that we would really watch out for is multiple chins, as we would in any portrait. Now, the way to deal with that, even in a pose like this, and I'm going to see if I can illustrate it. Shayna, lie back like you were, and then pull your head in artificially. Come on, give us a double chin. You can do it. Okay, no, she can't do it. All right. Yeah, I mean, this girl has no problem, but she's trying. Marianne has one. I have several. So what I tell people, my customers, to do is to push their nose towards the camera. So if I tell them push their chin, they'll always do this because they know they have a double chin, and that's not a good look. Or if I tell them to push their forehead, then they're looking down like that. I tell them to push their nose to the camera. So all they're doing is stretching out their neck. I don't know if I'm on camera or not. If I'm not, I'm doing this for nothing, and it's really embarrassing. So I'm looking for the shape of her face. I'm looking for the shape of her tummy. I'm looking for the shape of her thighs and feet position. I don't like the feet when they're together. Just do that same pose, but feet exactly together. Yeah, mirror image. It almost looks like she only has one leg. So we always make sure that there's some separation, one knee a little bit higher, and the feet separated. You can also tell them to cross their feet at the ankles. Try that. And so you get some nice poses there. Okay, kind of evolving this, I'm going to have you flip over, and we're going to do this kind of a shot. And I don't know if you, maybe your knees will have to be on the backdrop. It's this one in the middle, in the blue. Actually, she can do it on this bench. Actually, that's a great pose. Hair off the eyes. Notice how, I'll take a shot for you. Her upper leg is draped over the back leg, the knees forward. Gives a really nice shape to the legs. Feet are separated. And now, this could be the ultimate cleavage shot, obviously. So, this is boudoir photography, so we don't mind that it's about cleavage a little bit. You're looking at it at an odd angle. It's not distorted, I promise you. I promise. Variations on that theme can be like the middle one in this one. So it's kind of tush up in the air. And we're not going to make it about the tush. We're not going to show the tush. We're just going to imply that there's one there. Come right down to both elbows if you can. Like that. All about her face. In such a way now, the only thing I'm not happy with there is a little bit of shadow on her the far side of her face, which I could fix simply by lowering this forward light. And that would solve that problem. But I'm trying to illustrate some poses. So, again, a variation on that. That one pretty much hides the cleavage. But while she's in that position, most women are going to have a little bit more depth of cleavage. So all you can you do that pose with the arm pulled back a little bit? Kind of an upper twist. I'm not embarrassing you, am I? No. Good, good, good. Now notice, if she did have love handles, her arm and her garment would be covering all of that. And so again, I'm just looking at the face, the shape of the face. I'm looking the shape of the legs, obviously the cleavage, not to embarrass her, but looks good. Looks good. Now try a couple, that similar pose, no eye contact, just glancing off. Yeah, like that. Perfect. I made a mistake on that one. I'm going to reshoot it. Really like that. And then glance down at the floor. Eyes closed. Yeah. Oh, no flash. All good. All good. So even using simple props like that, no big deal. So I'm going to give Dave a chance to take a few shots, and then we're going to go on to another set. So again, this is a good time if you have questions, good time to bring them up.
Okay, I'll start with since you're already in. You okay? Mm-hmm. And then just looking down on the, and just a little flick of the hair. Okay. Just run up on your back there and try the leg stuff. For the legs, just one up and one down.
Sorry, I'm trying to get my question dialogue to come up on my iPad.
I think you had one other one where you were on your knees there.
All this technology, none of it working. Here we go. So guest 155, what amount of your headshots are full body compared to 3/4, half, or headshots? Full body, not so much. That might be as low as 10%. 3/4, half headshots, obviously, a lot of all of those. So I don't know that which one wins. Probably half. I do come in for some tight headshots, and half and 3/4 are probably the bulk of it. Most clients don't know how to pose as your model does. Does Marianne help a lot in positioning the client, or are you showing them what you really want with your body? Marianne's an integral part of this, and it ties into two subjects, really. Ties into the fact that as a male boudoir photographer, I want and need to have a female assistant in the room at all times. And I never see, if they're in the middle of a garment change or a wardrobe malfunction, I turn my back. I turn away from the scene. Marianne deals with it, gets the customer comfortable, and then I turn back into the scene. So there's that. It's the privacy and comfort of the client. But also, it's just sometimes in boudoir, with the kind of garments we're dealing with, you actually have to go up and physically touch the garment to get it to move to the right position. And that's something that obviously Marianne can do, I can't do, without getting slapped anyways. So yes, she's an integral part of all of that. Plus she puts in some poses herself. But again, going back to what I was saying at the top of the show, for every session I have my sheets, my posing sheets ready. And together we show them the pose so they get the feel of what we're trying to accomplish. And then Marianne will help maneuver them into that position. Can I speak about tattoos and piercings? Hold on for a second, guest 762. What I wanted to do next, I think you can just leave this on. Or do you want to change? I'm partially trying to remember what it was you brought. Okay, let me answer this question. Tattoos and piercings, issues, problems. Well, my kind of guy, being my age, most of my life I've been anti-tattoo on girls. But you know what? I just have to not care about that anymore because today's generation want them. They all have them, and they're proud of them. And it's now something that they want to show off. It's not that we're trying to cover them up. We're trying to show them off. So depending on where their tattoos are, on their back, on shoulders, arms, thighs, derriere, whatever, we'll come up with poses that show that. Unless they say, no, I hate my tattoo, I'm sorry I got it, then of course we'll hide it. But generally, all that stuff's coming out. Same thing with piercings. Unless it's something really weird, I guess this ties into another subject. Our client yesterday had pierced nipples. Now, she didn't do topless shots, but we have had clients who are comfortable with topless, and if they've got piercings, that's what it is. That was their choice. If they don't want them, I guess they can take them out. So I don't fret over tattoos or piercings or anything. Guest 212 says, if I'm looking for a female assistant, how much posing should my female assistant have? I think she should know a lot. Well, the more, the merrier either, obviously. So you're the photographer, though. You're in charge of the session. It's your work that the pose is going to reflect. So ultimately, you should know. The assistant should, if she knows as much as you do, then that's great. But I wouldn't rely on the assistant to be your poser and you're just the shutter clicker. Marianne, I have kind of, I don't want to say fights, but let's just say disagreements from time to time over how a pose should look. But ultimately, the guy with the camera in the hand is king of the shoot. So that's all there is to it.
And I didn't think that.
Did I do yesterday's client in the same location? Yes, it was done in this very same studio. Not on what we're doing with Shayna tonight. Hers was all done on the opposite end of the studio, and because of her size, literally there were large rolls to deal with. I wanted a lot of laying down poses. So is there a camera? Does camera 3 maybe show the couch I'm sitting on? We actually draped this sofa in a white comforter and put white towels on it, or not towels, pillows. And a good amount of her posing was done right on this. I could lie her on her back and arrange poses to hide problem areas. I could lie her on her tummy. I could have her propped up in the armrest. I didn't want it to be this color. That's why we draped it in white. But it looked just like she was lying on a bed, posing normally. So, yeah, there's a lot of flexibility to boudoir. And some boudoir sessions that we do during the day, we don't even use the studio flash. We'll go ahead and just use whatever light's coming in the patio doors of the studio and shoot at high speeds. I've shot usually 3200 ISO or 6400 ISO, and occasionally up to 12,800 ISO. And yes, there's going to be some digital noise, which we make look like grain. And that doesn't bother me at all. I know a lot of people fret over noise. I'm not one of them. The more the merrier. Like one guy told me many years ago, the hell with the noise. We'll add more if there isn't enough. And so with that, we're going to go on with a few more poses, and then we're going to wind up wrapping up this session in a few minutes. Yes, that was where we're going next. Can you hand it to her?
Yeah.
So we have a broken guitar. And so now it's a studio prop.
I broke it over his head.
That happens a lot in this studio. So now, some of this can be really good for suggested nudity. Yeah, be wary of the neck. You don't play the guitar, do you?
Not well.
Okay. Now, what if you bring it up on your knee like you were going to play it? Okay, just lie it on your knee like that so it kind of covers the cleavage a little bit. Now, I'm going to take a picture of this. Just relax. You could easily position the guitar. Obviously, we'd have to position it so there's no reflection. That's just angling the guitar. But even if you wanted a suggested nude top, you could cover her cleavage with the guitar, make a really hot-looking shot, and technically nobody sees anything. And there's a couple of different ways of doing that. You could also, depending on the shape of the guitar, we had an electric guitar for a while here with very, you know how they get these extended flanges on them. And just pose around the guitar. Use the guitar to cover up anything that you want. So she could actually have the guitar between her knees, covering up everything. And even though she wouldn't be nude, you could make her look nude just by dropping some bra straps or something like that. And it'll be a really hot shot. So it's a good accessory and prop. Let's try and tilt it in a way that we don't get shine, though. Let me try another one like that. Yeah. So if she was a guitar player, and this is a prop that we have had customers bring in. We had a girl last fall, I think it was, brought in a Gibson, a very expensive Gibson guitar from her boyfriend, which if we damaged in the shoot would be like the end of our lives. But she brought it in, we used it, and it looked awesome. Okay, let's try one standing. I got my coach whispering in my ear. So yeah, just rest it on the ground and rest your hands on top of the the neck like that. That's perfect. Kind of see what we got. And then I'm going to zoom in for the shot. I might use the bench still, so we're going to leave it there for a second. But the bench could be out in these shots. And again, kind of looking off camera for a couple of shots. So what do customers bring? Well, we covered this in the webinar part of this series. Remember, this series is 6 parts. They not only bring their own wardrobe, but we encourage them to bring props like this. Bring a guitar, bring, if their husband or boyfriend is a sports fan, they might want to bring a football jersey or hockey or whatever they're into. If they're a hunter and they have camo, that's a great accessory for them to bring for a shoot. We've even had one lady who brought a bow and arrow. One of those great fancy mechanical ones. Was it a crossbow?
Yes.
It was a crossbow. Okay. So props like this and accessories can really make a shoot. We had one girl, this is actually going back a few years ago. Her husband was a carpenter, and she wanted to pose. We actually did it on location. We went to his workshop while he was away, and she did a boudoir session in the workshop, wearing the tool belt and all that sort of stuff. So, accessorizing a shoot with things from their life is a really good idea. We don't provide outfits. Some boudoir studios do. We choose not to because I believe that outfits should fit perfectly. We tell the client that every single time we book them. Particularly the bras. What happens with any bustier or bra or anything else, when they lean forward, there's a natural tendency for a gap to develop between their actual breast and the outline of the bra. That gap looks terrible. And the only way of getting rid of it, other than to Photoshop it, which is a pain, is for them to have a proper fitting garment to begin with. And, or socks, as Marianne says. We have been known, Marianne has been known at least, to help solve problems by socks, clean, folded socks in the appropriate place. Yeah, it works. Not everybody is as perfectly done as you were. What else did I want to say? We have scraps of material, different kinds of material, different colors. So if they're having a problem area with their body, we can cover it up. Drape them in different things and deal with all of that. What's that question? Lighting question. I'm thinking I would move the main light to your camera right and provide light for her hair part. Yeah, you could do that. Normally in portraiture I'd have two lights. This one would be further over. It wouldn't be in this position. It would be further over to my left as we face Shayna, and then a fill light over to the right. And that would add more light to the shadowy side of her face that would be created by this light being in a different position. Nothing wrong with that if you choose to go there. My thought in just using three lights is because I called this quick and easy boudoir photography for beginners, then not everybody has all the lights. But I've been collecting lights my entire career, so I got scads of them. But when you're starting out, you may not have that. We want to keep it as simple as we possibly can. Do you provide black and white images? Yeah, certainly. In fact, we're going to do a session because people have been asking about post-production techniques, which we can't cover here in the studio. I'm thinking of adding another section on how we take these raw, straight out of camera images and work them before we show them to the client. Now, if you were here for part 2, we actually showed you an Animoto slideshow of a finished session, which, by the way, I got in trouble for from YouTube. And why did I get in trouble? Even though I had licensed the music to the slideshow legally, it was licensed for personal use, not for broadcast. And technically, YouTube thought I was broadcasting. So it took them about an hour to figure out. Now, I'd like to know the technology that makes this happen. I had that message from YouTube within an hour of the broadcast. They knew that I was playing copyrighted material and gave me choices of, like, I just took the video off of YouTube, obviously, but you can still see it on our website. Go to photographyschoolhouse.com. Remember, this entire series of 6 broadcasts. Actually, Travis, if you could bring up the website on the display monitor. I'll show you where you can find the previous recordings of this series, and it's only going to be available for a short time. So go to photographyschoolhouse.com. That's our main page. Scroll down to recent media productions, and the second one in says Start Your Valentine Boudoir from Your Home Studio. That's the series we've been doing for the last 5 weeks. Scroll down and it says Gold members click here to watch the video now. Now right now it's open to the public, so you can go there right now, click on it, and it'll take you through to the recordings of all of our previous sessions, the 3 webinars where we talked about the business of boudoir photography, and then part 1 and part 2 of the studio shoots. Of course, I'm adding part 3 later on. I'm going to leave that open only for a couple of days. So if you're not a gold member, that's kind of your last chance to see it. Recordings like this are normally a privilege of gold membership. And if you do want to become a gold member, Travis, scroll up to the menu bar. Media or memberships, gold. This is how we fund our massive operation. Gold memberships get all the cool stuff. So you can scroll down and see all the things that we do. We have our community. We have discounts on events. Obviously, one of the #1 things is access to our media library, which is very extensive right now. And if you book an annual membership, you get a bunch of freebies. You get the studio, which is our lighting manual that we've put out. Very, very popular product. Keep scrolling down. You get another bonus. You get how I booked 17 weddings at a photography show, wedding packages at a single bridal show, and blew the competition away. It's an actual story of how the strategy worked and how that was accomplished. You also get, and this is important for photographers, make your website start paying off, your website. 9 ways to improve your website conversions. There's a strategy in there that you should be following if you want to build your clientele. Now, those are all bonuses that come with an annual membership, but what we're doing in this series is we're throwing in addition to that, we're throwing in the PSH Boudoir Posing and Idea Guide, which I showed you at the top of the show. And it's both a manual, the smartphone JPEGs, and some field cards. We're throwing that in too. In other words, you get the kitchen sink if you go for an annual membership right now. That's on for a couple more days, then that's over. You gotta pay full pop. Okay. Got my obligatory commercial message in. David, did you shoot the guitar yet? No, you didn't. Want to grab a couple of shots?
Do a couple more of that, and then get a little bit of reflection.
Okay. Guest 212. The patio doors behind the black curtain? Yes, they are. Maybe one of the ditto cams you could show us the studio. Yeah, we could do that.
Just back a little bit more. Like if you were playing. Now, if you could just raise the neck of the guitar a little bit.
Oh, I missed the question from guest 155. What software are we tethering with? I'm shooting a Canon camera, and we're using the Canon EOS utility program for the tethering. There are other options. Obviously, I'm not a Lightroom user, but I think Lightroom supports tethering now. There's a number of ways that you can do that. We could tether Dave's Hasselblad. We just need a converter. He's FireWire out and we're Thunderbolt in. So when we solve that problem, we can tether Dave too.
Stick the neck like this. And just kind of cradle the instrument. And just looking down at the instrument.
Okay. I think we're going to wrap it up then if you've got any last minute questions, but that's what I wanted to show you. Quick and easy, only 3 lights for this. We didn't even move the lights at all. Once we had them set up, the whole session was right there. Couldn't be much easier than that. 2 strip lights, which as I've said in other broadcasts are probably the most critical part for my boudoir studio photography. Take away my strip lights, I close my doors. And standard softboxes. This is a medium one that we're using tonight. I have them in small, medium, and large. So if there's no more questions, I think we're going to call it good for this. This is part 3 of the studio broadcast, part 6 of the Boudoir series. So that concludes this series. The recording will be up tomorrow. And have a good night, everybody.